this is where the magic happens, doing these little things on a daily basis.
Get out of the head, reconnect back with the body, is to explore movement that fully engages you, rather than exercise being sets and reps. And that could be great. And it's not to take away from that, but there's so much more that this body can do. And so it's developing an interest to explore it. And so we can, some general things that can be helpful, exploring things that challenge your balance. If you're in your head and then you start to shift into something that's challenging your balance, everything has to come back into the body to balance. So it's a really fast way. If you do notice, like you're getting pulled up into here, start by just balancing on one foot or doing a movement activity that starts to challenge your balance. You'll very quickly notice you get drawn into the present moment, and it's actually difficult to be anywhere else but the present moment. So the body's a wonderful anchor.
Yeah, and it can also be just a simple thing with closing your eyes and walking slowly backward will also bring you instantaneously into the present moment. And this is often also the driver where people get drawn into, I just use the word like extreme sports, like free climbing or doing those highline walks where they use these little bands and walk up for 200 or 300 meters up in the air. It's just get this feeling of being in a flow. It's just there is no other point where you can just be really present. Otherwise, it's yeah, it's very close that you will die. And this is often what those people will also talk about in their interviews, like they just want to be present, they just want to feel the present moment, they just want to feel free, and they just use those extreme situations that there is no other choice to be just present. And the beautiful thing what we are talking about here, we don't have to take these risks and and to practice our whole life to get better at climbing or walking on a slack line. It's just the same mechanism.
Mm.
So you can really put it down into these little things like standing on one leg, closing the eyes, or doing other things where you really need the whole body full engaged. And then it draws you into the present moment, and the fear reality will just drop away. There is no other choice, then this will happen. Yeah, and when you just see these mechanisms where people often get stuck and where they really took the risk to die any moment, it's easy to do this in daily life and just live a life which feels more sweet, where you feel free and relaxed all the time, without putting yourself into death risk all the time.
Mm, mm. It's something that children naturally have, and well, if they're nurtured, if that is nurtured, because often you can see when that does get suppressed in children, when uh, caregivers are always like, careful, careful, careful,
Yeah.
and that if that has happened to you, you might internally have that like, careful, careful, everything is risky. So we can reintegrate that moving my body isn't risky gradually and gently by starting to do simple things. And what is balance to me is going to be different to someone else. And so balance could be, like you're there on 2 feet and you just slowly start to lift the other foot, and then like you feel your weight centering and starting to slide that foot on the ground to all the way to this other leg moving around wildly. It could be balancing on some rocks out in nature. You can gradually sort of work with an appropriate level of risk factor, and you don't
Yeah.
need to become like an extreme sports addict, and just then let yourself like be with that fully. Like that's the key thing. One of the key things that I generally recommend is take your shoes off, feel your feet on the ground, start to do something that challenges your balance in a natural environment and see if you can be in a low mood, see if you can be stuck in your head. It's pretty hard. And the effects of that over time, today, tomorrow, the next week, the next month, the next year, consider that.
Yeah, it's not thinking that, or stop this thinking when I'm doing this for the next 2 weeks, all my problems will be solved. It's just doing this continuously, and this is where the magic happens. Doing these little things on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This will retrain your nervous system, like Benny mentioned at the beginning, with like getting more resilience, or train the nervous system to have more resilience in this stress situations. It's just like strength training for your nervous system, and to keep on doing this, so the nervous system is always adapting. And it's, yeah, you just need to do it, and you just need to start where you are at right now, not trying to do things what you see in YouTube or other social media things, where I feel like, oh, this is really cool, I will just go straight forward into this. No, you just have to become aware of where is your nervous system right now. And maybe it's just like standing barefoot on the ground is where you're at. That's perfect. Then start there.
Mm.
And then just keep doing it, and then things will adapt and develop naturally.
And then that, like really, that final point then starts to, we can then kind of go back through the cycle, because then
Yeah.
as you start to then connect back with the body in this way, then then the controller may come up.
Yeah.
You may then have strong sensations that you have been avoiding or not acclimatized to connecting with in the body. Different thoughts, emotions, like it's all coming up. And then you want to go back to comfort land. And so we can keep going through this process of acknowledging the controller, seeing that it's there. And this could all be happening just while you're practicing moving your body as well, like
Yeah.
connecting with the body. So like you're in that movement, coming back, like noticing your hands, noticing your feet, starting with the peripheries, coming back down into the center of the body, noticing that, letting your awareness start to connect with that, breathe with that. And this can all happen while we're moving, and it's a very connected process with what it is to be human, what it is to have a body. And so the final quote that I think is useful to finish with, and I can't remember who said this quote first, but it's essentially, we don't stop playing because we get old. We get old because we stop playing. So that's ultimately what this is about, is coming back to these things that we often forget, the things that we often get conditioned out of us. We might feel like the weird person in a very normal, uptight reality, and that's okay. It's my encouragement from one weird person to another, that being weird is the new normal.